Everybody. It is a perfect day for the Jimmy Palumbo Show. That's right. I'm your host, Jimmy Palumbo, alongside my broadcast buddy for so many years, show number 88, alongside with me, my partner in crime, my man behind the glass, Mr. Chris Gucci, who looks smiling and happy, and we all know why. Why is that, Chris? Why
Well,
are
it
you
feels
happy?
good. For the first time in over 5 weeks, the Packers got to experience a victory. And of course, this was a big one because it was over my business partner, Dave's
Yes.
beloved Dallas Cowboys. And,
Right.
bragging rights here at Chop Studios is always
That's
a
nice.
good
You
thing.
hold them. You hold them for 1 week, but when I get to my stinks list later on in the show, which
Well,
listen,
I hold them until they play again, and
well, my
I don't think that's happening this year. So
listen, my NFL stinks list is capturing the nation right now. That's how big it is. ESPN, Sirius Radio, everyone checking in on Jimmy Plumbo's stinks list. But before we get to that, Chris, this is an exciting show, Chris. Why is it exciting? Because number one, I have a new sponsor, which we'll talk about later on. That brings it to a total of 4 sponsors. And those of us checking at home, of all the podcasts on the Chop Sport Network, who has 4 sponsors? I think I'm lone at the top. That's it. I'll talk about them later. Also, what else am I going to say? We also have a special guest, Joe Latrulio from Beer League and Brooklyn Nine-Nine's coming in here at Shea. He's a Jet fan. I think he's a Met fan, too. He looks like a Met fan. Maybe he's a Yankee fan. I don't know. But he's going to be on the show talking all kinds of things, and we have a lot of tidbits there. And that's it. But let's get to show number 88, Chris. Show number 88. Now, there's tons of guys here. And I think most Giant fans, they see the number 88, Chris. The first guy they think of is Hakeem Nicks. No doubt about it. Wide receiver. They think of him. They think of Ike Hilliard. They just think of guys like this. Some of the older guys, they may go with Alan Page, Drew Pearson, Lynn Swan. Jet fans, they give us to Al Toon. They talk about Al Toon. But for me, it's very personal. It's very personal, number 88. Because I'm going to go with a wide receiver from the football Giants. From 1980 to 81, number 88, Mike Freedy. Now, Mike Freedy only played about 23 games with the Giants. But you got to understand something. In 1980, the Giants averaged, I think, 4 yards passing per game. Okay. And in 7 games, he caught 21 catches, diving over the middle, making great. People were just yelling, Freedy, Freedy. We thought he was like the second coming of Lynn Swan. He hurt his leg, wasn't as good, played the next year, and he was out of the league. But Mike Freedy to me was you. But I got to share it. I got to share it with somebody else. I got to share it with another guy. It's personal. Number 88 for the football Giants, Bobby Johnson, wide receiver. So 2 wide receivers. Bobby Johnson played in 84, 85, and 86. Made some big catches. But the main reason, my nephew was born, and his name was Bobby. And for some reason, I started to call him Bobby Johnson. So I still call him Bobby Johnson. When I see him for the holidays, I shake his hand. What's up, Bobby Johnson? So I call him Bobby Johnson. Now, my buddy works for the Giants, and I actually got him an autograph, Bobby Johnson autograph, and he's like down on his luck, Bobby Johnson, the real Bobby Johnson. And but he signed it. It says, from Bobby Johnson to Bobby Johnson, which, again, I think it's the greatest gift ever from an uncle. So that is it. I go with 2 guys, and that would be Mike Freedy and Bobby Johnson.
okay, so I'll touch on yours. The guy that you mentioned, Hakeem Nicks. Probably one of the most frustrating plays that I've ever watched as a Packer fan was watching Hakeem Nicks catch the Hail Mary before halftime in a playoff game with the Packers and the Giants, and it put the Giants up 17 points, and it pretty much erased any hopes of a second half comeback. And that was the year the Packers went, I think, 15-1. They had the most points ever. So that was terrible. Thanks for bringing that up.
Right.
And
his last name is Knicks, and immediately makes me think of like the New York Knicks basketball.
Yeah.
So it's tough.
And he was a Tar Heel. I've always followed North Carolina college football fairly closely for whatever reason. But the guy that I'll talk about is, people don't realize that he was actually a Packer. But you remember the tight end, number 88, Keith Jackson. Keith Jackson was the Eagles tight end for all those years. He was a Pro Bowler.
He went to the Packers.
He went to Green Bay on that 96 Super Bowl team, and he got his ring there. That was a loaded roster that people don't realize. Andre Rison was on that team, and Keith Jackson was on that
indeed.
team.
All right. So Keith Jackson, Mike Freedy, and Bobby Johnson. All one player is awesome, and the other 2 guys are selling insurance in Idaho. But that's it. Now, I got to normally we do our weight thing, how fat I am, but we're not doing that. But it's still, I got to bring up my favorite sponsor of all time, Absolute Eyewear. Getting involved, 42 Main Street, Woodbridge, New Jersey, 732-326-3937. That's right. Craig and Janine Michaud, they own the place. They're fully family owned. Go see these people. They got prescription eyeglasses, eyewear. They got glasses for the kids. They got contacts. They go there, get an eye exam, the whole bit. Ladies and gentlemen, the following glasses are available at Absolute Eyewear. Ray-Ban, Coach, Ralph Lauren, Jimmy Choo, Silhouette, Michael Kors, Vogue, Maui Jim, Costa Del Mar, and Oakley, not Charles Oakley. So that's it. $100 off. If you mention my show, go in there. And Chris, they're open 5 days a week. They're closed Sundays. Why?
That would be Football Giants Sundays.
And they're closed Wednesdays. Why?
That would be Softball Wednesdays.
That's right. Softball Wednesdays for sure. And the best thing is their slogan, which they have not approved, when you leave Absolute Eyewear, you don't feel like a jerk off. I think that's the best slogan of any business of all time. How many times you leave a place, Chris, you just spent money and you feel like a jerk off. When you go to Absolute Eyewear, you don't feel like a jerk off. I'm going to do the cable ads for them someday. That's it. So go check them out. That's it. Absolute Eyewear. They're my original sponsor, the best sponsor, and they rock. Go see Craig and Johnny.
I really should go see Craig and Johnny in my eyes.
Because you can't see shit.
It's been a running joke, or not even a joke. It's like the fact. But it's getting to the point now where I'm like,
dude, that's what happened to me.
I'm starting to look like an old person, older than I am actually.
You just call me old. You just call me old. That's not
no. I said I didn't say I'm starting to look like you. Thank God.
See that?
You like that? That was a layup, bro.
That was a layup. Really was. Layup. I know, especially with the Giants 7-2. I get you. Go get your glasses, will you please? But it brings me up. God. I gotta mention though, Chris, big news. This show is loaded with big news here at Shea. I now have from 14 Patreon to 15 Patreon. We are now the Thurman Munsons of Patreon. And you know why, Chris? And there's controversy here. This is a controversial show. Number 15. I won't say it. I'll wait till the end. Ready? Here we go. I have Alex Stetsena, my sister, Mary Eileen, Mike Gamosi from Colonia High, Eileen Palumbo, my mother. I have Joe Palumbo, my cousin, Rob Pastor, an old Kappa Sig buddy from the Scarlet Knights Rutgers, James Kanowitz, my website guy who you can never get in touch with, my nephews, Jimmy and John Henry Riccardi, and Eric Palumbo, who's getting married next year, Michael Caprio, my second baseman, my brother Frank, who is heavily involved with my Patreon a little bit more than the tiers, as they say, Daryl Clark, a guy I met online, beer league fan, and that has some news coming up as well. He's involved down there in Louisiana. And number 15 here at Shea, Michael Shecky Lawler coming in at number 15. Now, listen, he argued with me online. I had the Dolphins as being shitty. I mean, stinks. I might change it to shitty list. I don't know, but stink sounds better. He argued with me, and I said, okay, let me watch a few more games. And I said, listen, if I upgrade him to, average or good or whatever, you got to go to Patreon. He did. He put his money where his mouth is. Some people say I bought my Patreon there, Chris. I don't know how you feel about that, but the Dolphins have been playing good ball, and we're going to talk about that later on. Those are my Patreon. Please go on to Instagram and Facebook and all this LinkedIn and go and click I love you, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. We got a ton of people here hanging out in my little chat room here. My buddy Roger Mayer's getting involved and all this different stuff, which is cool. So that's that. Now, big stand-up show coming up. March 10th and 11th from downtown Avenel, New Jersey. Once you made it in Avenel, I mean, it's like the song says, it's up to you, Avenel. The March 10th and 11th at the Avenel Performing Arts Center. Come see me. It's going to be like a Colonia reunion with everybody getting involved. It's going to be a good time. I also booked a gig on January 14th at the Ocean View Restaurant in Seaside with Ryan Mayer, another comic I've known for years. So I'll be doing more stand-up, and that's it. But before we get to our guest, I have to make another announcement, Chris. Fans are going crazy here at Shea. My new sponsor, they are ChasingMiracles.com. You got to check out this website. You got to talk to Donna and Tommy. These are good people. They're fun people. They're very inspirational. They love life. They've been through some crazy stuff in their lives. Once you talk to these people, you're going to love them. But they are involved with hydration water packs, which deliver over 70 trace minerals into your water, increase strength, stamina, overall good health. She sent me a pack in the mail along with the check. God bless America. And I used to take these things years ago. I'm doing it again now. It's really easy. You got to go to the website, talk to them. They'll explain everything. It's easy to use. All you do is take this little pack, you put it in your water, shake it around, drink it, gives you minerals, alkaline factors, pH balance, and all that. It's really cool. ChasingMiracles.com. I didn't get the full copy of the script and doing the ad. So as
I was just about,
by,
because this is something that I am interested in, because
you'll love this stuff. You'll love this stuff. So,
and I was about to ask you a ton more questions. And
I listen. I don't have all the information as time goes on.
So ChasingMiracles.com.
That's all you got to know. ChasingMiracles.com. It's Donna and Tommy Weber. Go check them out and talk. I think you can send them an email. There's all kinds of information on it. And that's it. And you will be hearing from them when you contact them. ChasingMiracles.com. Hydration water packs. New sponsor. So my sponsors are Absolute Eyewear, Chasing Miracles, CornholeLevel.com, and of course, the Pine Tar Bar and Grill down in Fork and River, which you'll hear about them. But before we get to all of that, it's time. Okay, first of all, I got to before I click on the thing, I have a great guest here. And here's why. Number one, he was in the movie Beer League. And I don't give a shit what he talks about, all his credits. His best work was in the movie Beer League. I'm convinced of that. Fans scoring at home are convinced that. He played the character Dave, which is the one who never got a hit and pukes all over the place and having trouble at home. This guy, Joe Latrulio, let me tell you, he's been on 140 different TV and film credits, which is more than me, but he's been on big shows. Number one, Dave in Beer League. He played Charles Boyle in 9 seasons, or maybe it's 10 seasons of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. You guys will know him from that. You're also going to know him from Reno 911, where he played Deputy Frank Rizzo, he also worked with Mary Birdsong on that show. He was in Super Bad, and he was in, there's so many credits here. I mean, he was in movies called Here a While and About Last Night, did the voice for Wreck-It Ralph. He was in Pineapple Express. He was in all the Reno 911 movies, a movie called The 10, Wet Hot American Summer, and it goes on and on and on. And also he was in a sketch group called The State. And this year he's director, writer, producer of a horror film called Outpost. He didn't cast me. We're going to discuss that immediately. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to bring to the Jimmy Plumbo Show for the first time here at Shea, your friend and mine, Mr. Joe Latrulio. Joe,
Jimmy!
How we doing?
We're great, man. We're great. Now, what was it that made you think I look like a Met fan? Was it the giant baseball I have for a head? Was it just the fact that
Jets? Yeah, you mentioned that you're a Jet fan, which is great. Yeah. I love that for Chop Sports, so they realize that there's more Jet and Giant fans than are Packer and Cowboy fans. That's probably
there's
not true.
definitely not.
It's definitely true. In New Jersey, it is.
Okay.
So wait, Joe, you're a Jet fan, which you're enjoying this season, right? And you're also are you a Met or Yankee fan?
I'm a Met fan. I'm a Met fan.
So you're Mets and Jets.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that usually when you're a Jet fan, you're usually a Met fan. That's how it usually goes.
They go hand in hand.
Right, and you had a great season up until towards the end there. Then it got shitty at the end. But
where we collapsed. You
got Buck Showalter. Yeah. You got all kinds of good things going on there. But enough about the Mets because they don't care about us.
No.
So, like, Joe, what's going on? Let's talk about, first of all, before we get to the other stuff, this new movie Outpost. You wrote, directed it. That's crazy.
Yeah, man. I've been a horror fanatic since I was a kid before comedy, and I've been wanting to do a horror movie for a long time. So after Brooklyn ended, I'm like, this is a good time to really, I have a little bit of money saved up, and I wanted to work with my wife Beth Dover, who's a terrific actor as well. And I said, we're
gonna get to your wife in a little bit, Joe. Don't worry.
Whoa, hey, whoa! What do you mean?
All good.
What are we talking about?
All good.
So we did this movie last couple of summers ago, and so we wrapped that up and just premiered at Fright Fest in London, and it went great. So excited to get it out there. Now someone's got to buy it.
Yeah. Well, that's always but the horror films, I'm sure something will go with it. Yeah. Well, that's cool. How was it directing for the first time, working with actors? That must have been weird.
I loved it. I mean, I loved it because I wasn't in the movie, and so it made things a lot easier to to handle. We were in Idaho. We were up in we shot the movie's about a woman who starts to lose her mind in a fire tower on a mountain. So we shot on this mountain in Idaho, and it was a blast. We had a lot of good people there. Brought some people from LA, but used a lot of locals there, and they were terrific.
That's awesome.
It was difficult. You know, we were shooting at 6,300 feet. So that presented its own logistical challenges, but we had a great crew, and I loved it. I'd love to do it again. As long as I'm not acting in it at the same time, I like it.
Well, sadly, I must have been unavailable for that film shoot. I can't. Yeah. I'm getting texts now saying, "Jimmy, were you unavailable those 6 weeks in Idaho?"
Yeah.
I don't know if I was. Maybe I was at a Rutgers game, and I missed.
I think you had a Rutgers game. That's right.
Okay,
That's
right.
I think you know what? It was a small movie, Jimmy. Small cast, handful. It was a 5-hander. It was a 5-hander.
You see that? Are you trying to tell? You just told everyone that you can't afford me. Is that what you say? Is that what you're telling everyone? I'm saying.
Listen, your quote is out of hand. Your quote is out of hand nowadays, even for indie movies.
Before I throw you under the bus with that, I have to mention that he was also in. Joe really got his start back in the day with a sketch group, as I did. Sketch group called The State, which is on MTV.
Yeah.
And it's funny that The State had Michael Ian Black, Michael Showalter, Thomas Lennon, Ken Marino, Kerry Kenny, David Wayne. He wrote as well a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And you guys were like, we had just started doing sketch. You guys were already on the air. And the funny thing is, half of that cast is like repped by the same manager as me and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And they're all they're all writing, producing, and directing. But not one of them has old Jimmy Palumbo, the veteran right-hander who can give you innings in Idaho. I can go 5 1/3 on getaway day on Thursday. Nobody. I mean, these guys, Michael Showalter directs a movie a year, nothing. I will reach out to him. Now, I do contact these guys every now and then. I see
he's the guy that you got to talk about in terms of, he's an Academy Award nominated director now.
Yes, he's big time. And you think I'd get just a little, maybe a role as a guy like a little doorman role, make a day's pay. But no, even Ken Marino, I used to drink with Ken Marino. And now I got it. Well, let's talk about your wife for a second. So I did the ultimate asshole thing. I Google you. I'm like, I'd find out a little bit about Joe, maybe something I don't know. And it's one of the stupid websites I went to, whatever, it just said, and Joe's married to an actress, they live in LA, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh, well, what's going on? Who's he married to? Someone I know, it's just some actress years ago, and she had a baby. I'm thinking all that stuff, right? I was thinking all the wrong things. And then I find out you're married to Beth Dover. Am I getting everything right there?
Correct.
Now,
yes, correct.
Those of you scoring at home, she played, I believe her name was Miss
Linda
Ferguson. Linda Ferguson.
Linda from Purchasing.
Linda Ferguson on Orange is the New Black.
Yeah.
And she was on, maybe 20 episodes or something like that for like 4 seasons. She played a hottie who was a great character. I loved her character. She was such she was cool, but she was a prick and she was a slut, but not really. The whole thing. Also, I'm looking up. I was like totally like, why is Joe on my show? I should have his wife. Once again, I have to fire my producer, Chris. You're almost fired again. His wife is awesome.
This is the second time in a week that I've been fired, yet I'm still sitting here.
I know. I fire Chris every 2 weeks. But the bottom line is your wife is awesome. She was wonderful in that movie, man. I mean,
I will pass that along. You can tell her when you bring her on the show. You've just made her. Yeah, you're now her number one fan.
There you go.
Intro like that. Forget it. If she were to do a movie, she would cast you in a movie now.
Absolutely. Well, no, actually, probably she won't, because nobody from affiliated with the state ever cast Jimmy Palumbo. As a matter of fact, when you guys do your reunion sketch show, it's going to be called, instead of the state, it's going to be called We Don't Cast Jimmy Palumbo Sketch Group.
No Palumbo. The Palumbo Club. Have you been on Reno 911? You've been on Reno 911.
No, I haven't.
Get out of here.
I know. See that? I got bad management. I'm out with 3 arts like you and Dominic Lombardozzi, stars over there. No, I've never been on that show. It's a great show too. It's funny. We'll get to Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which was a really nice break for you, and you're really good on that show. Last time before Beer League, no, it might have been after Beer League. I was living in LA. And I met you out at that famous bar in LA, Residuals, where on the walls, Chris, you would love this place. On the walls is residual checks that are for a penny, a dime, zero. And if you got a free drink if you want.
Yeah, you used to get a free drink. They don't do that anymore.
They don't do it anymore.
Yeah?
But
No.
you walk around and see all these bad actors' checks. Some you even know. You're like, oh my God, Peter Boyle's check is on there. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So me and Joe went for a beer. We probably discussed beer league. Maybe it must have been after.
I'm sure.
League. And not that we were down on our luck. We were just having a couple beers, and we were like, when's going to be your next gig? And I remember you were just like, I love. Do you remember us drinking at the bar that night?
Yeah, I was not. We were kind of just talking about how when are we going to get the break, this and that, and then, I was ready to throw in a towel. Like,
you were
I had a cloud over me. For sure.
I was. But see, unfortunately, your cloud went away. I'm in the heavens here. But the other thing was, of course, you probably don't know this, but Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Jimmy Palumbo auditioned for that. Okay, and I might have came in as like the 3 seed, bro. I came in, I was like North Carolina. You were like Bethune Cookman, and all of a sudden Joe Latrulio just took me to the hole, lit me up for 41 points. 15 rebounds, smoked Jimmy Palumbo. I came in resting on my laurels.
Oh my
of course,
God.
Anybody who bet on it knew Jimmy did not play well in his conference tournament. Chris picked it up right away, and Joe came in and blew me. Yeah.
Oh man.
that was right. That was right at the turning point when I actually enjoyed. I was totally rooting for anybody I knew, because then you felt, hey, if he can do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
So tell us about Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I'm doing all the talking here. I'm going to catch it.
No. I mean, look, that was like you were saying. It was one of those amazing opportunities that came after a few. I just wasn't feeling it anymore, and I was getting tired of it. I'd been told, all you need is kind of one break in a movie, and I felt like I did that with Superbad and I Love You Man, and like I kept hearing all this stuff that was supposed to break, and I got impatient, and I'm like, I'm done. And then here was this opportunity, and I wasn't even going to go in for the show. I don't want to audition anymore. A lot of garbage and ego crap like that. And so I went in, and then the rest was history. And it just goes to show you, just kind of just show up, shut your mouth, and show up.
And you even got some breaks within a break, like the show. Did well for a while, and it almost got picked up and didn't get picked up, and so it was always like, and yet it went on and on and on, which is awesome.
And then it moved networks. We thought we were kind of canceled, and then we got picked up again. It was really one of these paths that it doesn't happen often.
It doesn't happen. I don't think it happens since, really.
Yeah. I think Scrubs jumped networks and maybe a couple other shows, but I mean, we were thrilled, and honestly, great. And not to kiss ass, but like I mean, it really was the fans just raised some, in social media, they just went nuts. And I think they had a lot to do with that. So
that's great. That. That's just great.
3 years of that show.
It's funny when you used to back in it. So me and Joe were in the sketch comedy world in the late 80s, early 90s. And one of the things that I'm about to tell you something, and it's something that happened like with me and you, but you didn't know it was happening. We used to do shows at that crazy ass place on Lafayette Street downstairs. You remember that?
Oh,
that bar in the corner that had to go downstairs.
Wasn't that was where they did Stella, where Wayne and Showalter and Black did Stella. It was called Fez. Wasn't it
the Fez? Fez. That was the name of it.
Yeah,
on Lafayette Street, and we were doing live on tape at the time. We had already shot our show, so we were kind of hot. You guys were all becoming stars on your own right from the state, even though the state hadn't been on in a little bit. And they would do these sketch nights with stand-up, and guys like Louis C.K. and it wasn't the Louis C.K. we know now. He was he wasn't that long in the business of stand-up, and he was just phenomenal. And you guys would always do these sketches. And one of the things I always prided myself when I was on live on tape, even if you only have like 1 or 2 lines in a sketch, if you could come in and hit the 3-pointer when they kick it out to you. So I cannot tell you how many times that when we did shows there, they would, Showalter and Wayne would be doing stuff and blah, blah. And all of a sudden you would come in off the side and come in and just hit like 3 quick threes, like bang, 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 bang. And I would be like, I looked at this like, I want to be Joe Latrulio when I grow up. I was like,
oh, dude, too kind. Those are the best. And by the way, I've made a career out of doing that, by the way. So like whether it's like Scenes in Superbad, even on Brooklyn as Charles Boyle, I'm coming in and doing these great little jokes, and then I'm gone. Like that seemed to be my forte, at Fez. So I did this character called Joey Adams. Remember the New York Post?
Yeah.
Joey Adams. And so, and that was a character that we created where I just was like this. He would talk like this, and he just had terrible jokes, and went on and on, and that was just a big hit. So like, and the funny thing about that is terrible jokes, and then in between he would do this like absurd kind of nonsense. So he'd do a terrible joke, and he's like, "Whoa, I'm a redwood, you can't knock me down," like just regardless nonsense, and it just hit, It
That's
worked,
great.
I loved it.
There was one show in particular, and I laughed. I never forget. Me and Artie were hanging out in the back, and you got on stage, and you didn't say anything yet, but everybody knew, like, he's about to interject a non sequitur funny thing into this night. And then, you did. It was great. I was like, oh my God, that guy. And I didn't really know you that well at the time. And then
go ahead.
Well, that was, we got to know each other a little bit better as we shot the world famous best comedy of all time, Artie Lange's Beer League.
Let me tell you something. Before you go off, because this is the truth. I love Beer League, and Beer League is special to me for many reasons. One, I think the movie is just funny and apologetic and old school, and it's not politically correct. And you just come out with some of these. I love the movie, but then also, Beer League was like the first project that I got that was separate from the state or separate from the group of guys. And I felt like that was something I needed time.
Sure.
Just, like I could do it on my own. And then to have you and Artie was an incredible sweetheart. And I know he would hate me using that word.
No, it's true. Artie,
like
people think Artie's this raw guy, but he's not.
No. And I remember getting on set, like I first got there, and we had a low budget. We were like, it wasn't a lot of, and like my chair or my dressing area was like behind like some partitions or whatever. I did not give a shit at all. And Artie's like, he's like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, Artie, what are you talking about? It's like an independent movie. He's like, listen, you can hang out in my trailer. I'm like, that's your trailer. Relax. He was just super, super generous. And the other thing I'll say is, so then we go to the Vegas Film Festival, and Seymour Cassell's out of control. That's a whole other thing. And but Artie, my parents come, right, and he did this thing. I'll never forget it. And my parents come into the room, and he says, "You guys having a good time, Mr. and Mrs. Lotrulio?" And this is a 40-year-old man, and I loved it. Just the kind of respect, the old school. You always called your friends' parents, but the Mr. last name, and I never forgot it. And it was just awesome. The best. It was just the best.
That's good. Vegas was a good time. I remember, I wasn't involved. I was involved. I was like a little bit involved in the producing of Beer League because we did the short Game Day. And I remember, talking to Frank, the director, and they were going through different names and blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, who's going to play this guy? And, all of a sudden it was like Joe Latrulio. And I was like, Joe, you got to get Joe. You got to get him. I was so excited, but I had no skin in the game, but I was like, you got to get Joe in this movie. And I remember you laugh about the trailer. The first day on set at the field, I had a trailer, right?
Yeah.
The second day they had, whenever they have tons of actors, they got to move stuff around. So the producer comes over to me. He goes, Jimmy, you got to go in the lunchroom with everybody else. So I went from having a nice trailer, feeling like, I'm a lead in a movie. Look how good I am, to like sitting there in front of the extras and the caterer. The caterer had to move my curtain out of the way to get like the pasta through. I was like,
yes,
I have not arrived. I have not. And I don't know if you remember how hot it was.
Oh yeah. 100
degrees. It was the hottest 3 weeks on record at the time in New Jersey.
That's right.
You remember that car scene? Now, where were you in that car scene when we all fall out? Were you in the trunk?
I was in the trunk, so they were doing like a tracking shot. Frank was doing a tracking shot. I'm like, if you go across, you get people coming out of the, the door, the car door, and then if you keep going, maybe I could pop the trunk and fall out. And
Right.
I can't even remember that.
I remember there were so many guys in the car, and I get a little claustrophobic, and all I kept thinking was, I would have said no to Frank, me getting I don't know how you did that, because you come out of the, I was like, and it was hot, so the car was hot, and all the actors knew. Remember, it was like there's nothing we could do. We had to get the shot.
Yeah,
and that was it. We were just praying, please get the lighting right, please get it right.
Dude, I had a great time on that shoot. As tough as it was, I mean, you had so many great people in that movie. I remember
Ralph Macchio, who hadn't done shit. Now he's big on Cobra Kai, but he hadn't done much before that. So that was cool.
I mean, that was a thrill for me, having jumped in the martial arts at 12 because of him. I let him know about it, and he was very sweet about
great guy
listening to me rattle off, And but shooting that movie, like I remember, like the finale scene. And all the puking. And I remember how much I was excited about how long can I hold this puke in my mouth and make it look like I don't have puke in my mouth.
Right.
Until we're halfway through the shot, and then I'm going to shoot it out. And,
For those you don't know, Beerly, if you don't remember the scene, his character Dave is always drunk and he pukes. And
so now here's where my questions are starting to come in. So you have to hold puke in your mouth. Like, did it have a taste?
Yeah, it was. Oatmeal and apples.
Yeah, it was exactly right. It was.
All right, so they put actual real food. It's not.
Yeah, he couldn't. What did they think? What did you think?
I didn't know, real Jimmy. I did not think that they put real puke. I just didn't know if there's some kind of special thing that they. That they use puke, like a corn syrup for blood or whatever they do.
Joe, I've worked with Robert De Niro, and he pukes when the director says puke. There's no fake puke. No,
he gave him on cue.
But I got to be honest with you. I remember the guy mixing it up. And you would put it in your mouth, and even though it's not puke, you still go like, I go
like I had the gag reflex.
Yeah, even though you're like, it's apples,
room temperature oatmeal.
But the best you had the best thing was that you did you puked I think 2 or 3 times, and then you think it was over. Then there was this extra. I guess you must have kept a little in your mouth.
I kept a little.
There was like this third. It was like a delayed, and the third one gets a huge. It's like, oh man, that's brutal.
Because also I think I'm in the frame the whole time. Like I puke, and then there's some characters talking, and then the button is like me puking again. But you don't see me put anything in my mouth, so I'm just holding it for a while.
Oh, it's great.
It was fun.
Also, you have a great line in there when the ball comes in and you stop it with your foot. You're like, cut off, man, cut off. And then the fact that we argued that you should never get a hit ever. But the first hit you get is from the pitching machine where you're holding a large dildo, if I could say this on the air, and you hit like a frozen rope with the paintball. And the pitching machine showed you no respect with an inside cutter, and you just roped it down the line.
Yeah, I roped it. Although I have to say, I'm glad that you gave Dave a hit. Like in the final game, he does get one, doesn't he?
He gets it. I think he does.
He does get one, and it was kind of satisfying because you're like, he's not going to get it.
No, it's so.
And also, it sets up Artie's line, which is hilarious. It's like, holy shit, Dave got a hit.
Yeah, it's it. Yeah. And remember, how about when you're batting practice? He's like, Dave, are you a lefty? And another funny thing was when the scene when you're up, Artie and I'm the umpire, and Artie's catching the pitching machine, and I just looked at Artie. I'm staring down someone's Broadway, and I looked at Artie. I was like, Artie, I whispered in his ear, I'm like, can you believe we're shooting a movie about softball? And look, I tried to tell him, like, look at what we're doing right now. You're up there with this huge dildo. It's like,
it's hilarious what we do.
It's one of those moments. Do you remember the pitching machine? Who I've been in contact with later. I've been in contact with Tease. How she walked around the set with her bottoms off. Like she walked around naked. And I've told this on the air before. When someone's walking around naked, no matter how, some girls were upset she was doing it, but she wanted to ease everybody's mind because she didn't know what she was going to be shooting. There was no cameras on yet. No. And no matter when someone walks by you naked, no matter how much you don't want to look, it's like one of those Star Trek episodes. You end up, I couldn't stop looking at her. And one of the girls who was angry, I caught her looking. I was like, you can't stop looking at her. You can't stop looking. It was just a bizarre thing to have on the set.
It was a
pitching
strange
machine.
shoot.
It was a lot of fun.
It was a very strange shoot, but fun.
Yeah. Well, that's Dave from Beer League, of course. First of all, now you're living in LA. You've been living in LA the whole time. What's going on
not
there?
the whole time, but we're now getting to that point where
you want to get
I was born in Queens, and then I went down to Florida and grew up down there, but then shot back up to New York for college, and then I was there for 17 years. So then I come out here, and now I'm approaching the 17-year mark. And so now we got, and so my parents are out here now, so we're gonna, which is great. We have a 6-year-old, and they're here, and so Beth and I talk about going back to New York at some point. We'd like to, but it won't be for a while. But yeah, I've been out here 17 years now.
Wow, so you got your parents out there now. What part of LA do you live in? What like?
Well, I'm in like northeast Glendale. I'm in like Glendale.
Okay, I know that really. I was in
nice.
I was in like Studio City, North Hollywood area there.
Yeah. Near Residuals. You were right near Residuals.
And have you ever been to the Foxfire, which is my favorite bar there, Foxfire Lounge? Ooh, on Whitsett and Magnolia. A little shout out to the Foxfire, Chris. If I ever get you out to LA, you'll come in here, you'll walk into this bar and go, I'm home. It's no windows, there's no light. It's got the red leather on the seats and everything. It's like 1971. And anybody, to me, it's like a Twilight Zone episode. You walk in, guys walked in there in 1971 to get a pack of cigarettes, and they never left. They're still there. They can't you can't escape. It's one of those bars.
It's called Fox. It's called Foxfire.
Okay. Foxfire. Yeah, it's on Whitsett and Magnolia. So you got a daughter. She's 6.
No.
You got a son.
A
son?
Okay. Eli. Yeah, and he's it's nice. He's in a baseball and soccer and chess. He's across the board. He's hitting all the marks. So
that's great.
Yeah.
And how is it being a dad? What's that's
I love it now. It was tough at first. It's a readjustment, but you learn. You hear this all the time, but you just learn more about yourself as soon as you become a parent. Like it's really you're really like you're not really teaching your kid. You're kind of teaching yourself how to be a person. Right. Like, you got to dig deep. Like, oh, this is my hang up. Oh, But,
I have a daughter. I have a daughter. She's 13, and I just it's just the greatest thing. It really is.
Yeah.
To be a parent and stuff like that. Now, I also noticed.
I love it.
How is your balance? I want to ask you this. You've been doing this a long time. You've had some success for sure. Some big home runs you hit in big spots. You also had some down years, and we've talked about that. How are you doing with the whole balance of wife, family, kid, work? How is that all? Is that something that you constantly working on, or what's happening there?
Yeah, I mean, we do it pretty well. I mean, Beth and I, it's we have our ups and downs in terms of our work and career, but it's luckily after Brooklyn, I've had some time off. I worked on the movie for a bit, doing some writing, but the balance has been nice. Like, luckily so far it hasn't been where we're both, so busy that, we're neglecting, the rest of our home life. So, so far it's been all right. And, that was another reason I wanted to work with Beth on the movie, is because I knew, we'd be in it together, and so now that that's done, we have some time to kind of do some separate projects, which we're working on.
Right.
Which is great.
And when I have Beth on the show someday, she'll have a whole different take on the whole thing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
She's going to be like, he cast me in this movie. I had to go with him for 6 weeks.
No, I tell you, like a lot of people, when they found out we were doing it, they're like, are you worried about your marriage? Is that going to survive? Independent filmmaking already is hell. And now you're going to put your marriage in that? And I'm like, we got to do it. I think what helped was we stayed in separate rooms in Idaho. Honestly, and I think that kind of saved the marriage. Like I went, as a director, I got my space.
And for those of you who don't know, like when you're directing an independent feature, the director it's 24 hours a day. Well, first of all, 3 months before, you have no life. During the shooting, every question goes through you. It's like you're the head coach, GM, owner. Hey, should I wear this shirt? Yes. Like it goes
right. Yeah.
It's
that's exactly right. That's exactly right.
A lot of crazy time. Now I see you're involved with a project called Little Green Men. Now, is that?
Oh my goodness.
I came up
no,
on.
I'm not. It came
I
up on
saw-
IMDb. You can't trust that all the time.
I
No,
didn't. I
that's
wasn't sure. I just thought since you're a Jet fan, maybe if they lose in the playoffs, the project's called Little Green Men.
That's pretty good.
And also, I'm half Irish. I can make myself little, and I can make myself green, like the way you puked in beer league. I can make
Little
myself
Green Men
green.
you
If
can
you say action, Jimmy, become little and green, instant, man. I went to HB Studios, had a class called How to Become a Little Green Man, and I took that class.
Wait, have we talked about our Irish Italian background?
I don't think so. So you obviously saying your mom's Irish.
Yeah, mom's Irish from Cork. I'm an Irish citizen. I got dual citizenship. Yeah.
Oh wow.
So,
your mother's the real, and your dad's from Italy or no?
My dad is. They were both born in Brooklyn. My mom's father was born in Cork. Was born in Ireland. My dad's grandmother was born in Ischia, Italy, and his grandfather was born in Sicily. Yeah,
I have one of my great grandparents. I forget. I think it's great grandparents. It was born. One of them was born in Balik, and the other one was County Cork, for sure. So Cork,
nice.
Cork is in my heritage, and my dad's side is like Central Italy, Campobasso area. So
maybe we're related. Cork.
It's
you know.
It's it. So maybe when they send a residual check from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, I think some of them should just go to me, and I'll be like, oh, Jimmy got it. That's cool.
Jimmy got it. That's fine. It's all the same. They're in the same clan. You know?
So besides walking around and trying to sell your horror film, what I guess you're not involved with Little Green Men. That was the IMDb.
No. Little Green Men is a script that I wrote and worked on with another producer. That may come back. That was just it's on the back burner. That it's a fun little script.
And what are you?
Kids.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
What are you? What are you working on? Like right this second? Anything coming up? You got?
We got a Reno 911's got a Christmas movie coming out called It's a Wonderful Heist. And that'll be coming out in December at some point. They didn't give me a date.
Well, that'll be fun.
And that was great working with Mary and Tom and Carrie and all those guys. So that's the next thing that's coming up. And other than that, honestly, it's it's the grind. And like you and I talk about this all the time. You think, you get a show for 8 years and it was great. Grateful for it, but it doesn't. You're only as good as your last job. Right. And so that's just how it works. So
exactly that's how Aaron Rodgers feels right now. Nobody cares about the past. You got to win now.
I mean, I care.
Well, the thing is, being that everyone that Joe knows writes, directs, and produces, and none of them, of course, have cast me, and I'm okay with that. I can handle that because I'm waiting for the bigger project. Okay,
that's right.
But it turns out, rumor has it, Joe. Rumor has it, and I'm just going to tease it a little bit that perhaps Jimmy Palumbo may be involved in hiring you for for something that is near and dear to our hearts.
Get out of here.
Is
that something that's happened? Something that
listen, I just trying to tease it. Rumors are swirling around my headquarters right now. The media's outside waiting. The only tease I will say is I'm pretty sure you won't have to puke in what we're involved with.
Hey now.
But still may maintain some of the same characteristics. I'm sure.
Hey, listen, I think we still have the recipe for that fake puke. So if we have to make it happen. And listen, then we'll make it happen.
Get my stuff is authentic. I will get the actual recreation of that, but I don't want to mention any names. I don't. No sense saying
anything. Can we get anything?
Listen, I know a lot of my fans are they're big on Cobra Kai. I've had Mary Birdsong on, Joe Latrulio. I've had Anthony Mastromaro on, the producer of the movie.
Boy.
I didn't have Frank Sebastiano on yet. He might come. He might come on soon enough.
Mr. DeSando.
I had Anthony DeSando will be coming on shortly. I had Artie Lang on the show. I'm just saying I can't reveal what we're doing, but there's maybe something exciting going on in your life, Joe. It'll it might be enough where maybe you can paint the bathroom, the amount of money you'll make on this. Certainly not replace any
I make it
faucets.
two partitions to stand
You might
behind
get two partitions.
and get dressed in.
Yeah. Or you'll be just hanging out in your rental car or whatever. Or your Uber driver will be
or behind the tree. You see that big tree over there? You can change right behind that there.
I know I can work with my people because we've been in the trenches before. We'll do it again,
right.
damn it.
That's right.
But
no doubt.
So that's my little tease on that. But listen, Joe, I can't thank you enough for coming on.
Yeah.
Everybody, Joe
Jimmy,
Latrulio. Now, do you have
love being here.
What is your Instagram? All that.
At Joe Latrulio on Instagram. At Joe Latrulio. That's my name. Yeah.
So everybody, look him up. Look out for his movie Outpost, which will be coming on somewhere. I'm sure eventually
next week or next year, hopefully. Yeah.
And I think in 2013 it's going to be the year that Jimmy Palumbo finally gets cast by the state members. That's what we're here for.
You know what? And, we gotta write something for you, Timmy, especially for you.
Yes, maybe a scene with maybe me and your wife have a scene. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
Where I could just say, "Oh my God, that's the girl from Orange Is the New Black." Please tell your wife I said hello.
I
Give a hug to your kid. All right, everybody, say goodbye to Joe Latrulio, and thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Jimmy. Thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Have a good one, bud. Thanks for coming on.
All right, that was Joe Latrulio. That was really cool of him, man. I love talking to him. He's been on so many cool shit and tons of stuff, and I love that stuff. So now we have to kind of reverse gears, Chris, and go back to the beginning of our show that we normally do. And I guess we have a few more minutes. Well, I got to talk about Rutgers, which of course that's a joke in itself. I'm on this Rutgers football page on Facebook. And I don't know if any of them tuned in, and I go on there, and I'm sometimes when Rutgers loses, and you know this, Chris, if you're I'm sure you're on Packer boards. Is there nothing worse when somebody is too positive? Like they're like, "Oh my God, the quarterback did great." I'm like, I watched the game. I didn't think he did good, right? I don't like. It doesn't mean you're not a fan. It's just like you're pissed. And I always say I always need 24 hours to decompress, but we post stuff within 24 hours. And they were like busting my balls. And one guy was like, "Who is this guy?" And I'm like, I finally had to put a post out there saying, "Hey, calm down. I was on the cover of Rutgers magazine. I had season tickets since 1983. The family goes to every game. I was on Scott Farrell's show barking about Rutgers when nobody else in the country was. I've met all the guys. I'm just not one of those fans. I'm getting tired, man. I'm 57 years old. I've been watching Rutgers for 40 years. And yeah, I want the quarterback to be a little bit better than he is. I know he's young. He's got a long way to go. And we got no receivers and all that stuff. I get all that. But you know what? It's okay to be a little bitter when you lose you're 1-5 in the last 6 games. And but I'm just a little down on him. I don't know. Then hoops started and we're 3-0, and maybe it's like the football team. But I am totally pro Big Ten. Best thing Rutgers has ever done. So anybody that says, if I got to hear one more Rutgers fan say, they should have joined the Big Ten, killing them. They should. What are we going to do if we can't draw against Penn State and Michigan? You really want to go to the Rutgers Fordham game and the Rutgers Colgate game? You know what I mean, Chris? It's like the Big Ten was a good thing, and Rutgers does very well in the Big Ten. Let me put this out there. Rutgers got into the Big Ten. There's a big article in the New Jersey papers about it right now. We got into the Big Ten because of television money. Okay, because when you put a Rutgers game on, it's not Iowa, it's not Nebraska, where nobody lives. There's people here. And Rutgers does very well in the ratings. They've made money for every school in the Big Ten. I don't want to, even though our football team, and in the beginning, we all sucked. Every sport sucked. Now, there's only 1 or 2 sports that haven't done anything. And each one of them is either middle of the pack or, in fact, like the soccer team, who just won the Big Ten tournament. The sports teams are really coming along across the board. And that's a I'm getting excited now. I'm banging my computer. And that's a wonderful thing. And the money will be coming in soon when the full check gets cut, and playing USC and UCLA and New York and LA market. But I still want to win more football. I just do, man. I'm just sick of those Saturday afternoon rides back home from the stadium.
It's not going to get any better anytime soon in terms of the football.
I think it will get. I think it will get better. I don't think it can get worse, to be honest with you.
I mean, yeah, it could get better in terms of they might flirt with a bowl every couple seasons, but I don't
That's
think
all.
being there, they're not going to threaten.
They're not going to go 12-0.
Yeah,
Not unless they realign. If they realign and get us out of that, well, we got to play Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State every year. It'd be different. But anyway, I still believe in Rutgers. I think the next 2 games they're going to struggle. Now the Hoops team is 3-0. Gotta love that. They got to win all their shitty games. And if they win all their lousy games and play tough in the Big Ten conference, I think I still am holding to the 20-11. I'm sticking to that. I don't know. The schedule's tough. That middle of January and February, there's some of those road games, Chris, at Iowa, at Wisconsin. Those are nasty games, man. I don't care. Even like Michigan, I think Michigan was the best team in the conference, or Ohio State was. They don't like to go at Iowa and hoops on a Tuesday night. It's 10 degrees outside. The fans are all wearing that yellow. It's like those are tough games. And playing at the rack is tough as well. I've seen, we bounced a couple of teams out, but it's still fun. It's great. I'm enjoying the young kids running around there. And hopefully this kid, Cam Spencer, will be good, blah, blah, blah. A little shout out to my buddy Mark Margagliata. I gave him my tickets and my brother's tickets. He took his kid there, and how wonderful to send him to a basketball game. And the little kid saw his first victory, the band screaming, everybody jumping around. So Rutgers Hoops has got it going on. It's exciting. That being said, my Knicks stink. I can't. I'm getting very down on the Knicks. They're just a bunch of guys running around. I don't know what's going on. There's no system, as my father used to say. There's no system here. That's exactly what it is. But we'll turn ourselves to the football Giants. And Christopher, it's just a good time to be a Giant fan. Look, I know every Giant fan I know knows that the Giants aren't that good, okay? But there is this wink thing like, yeah, it's mid-November. We're still saying we're not good, but we're 7-2. We took care of business. Houston stinks. And the game was the Giants just ran the ball, which is everybody hates it, but I loved it. It's like, why? Just run the ball, burn the clock, and go home. And I thought it was great. The NFC stinks. And now, anyway. And I was aggravated that Kadarius Toney caught 4 balls with the Chiefs and a touchdown. I think that'll go down as one of the worst trades the Giants have ever made, because I kept on saying when he's healthy, he's open on every play. And I think Mahomes is going to find him big time unless he gets hurt. But I'm pissed about that. Your Packer game, I watched it. You were right about McCarthy. He seems always be in the middle of these games, and he blows them at the end. It's uncanny. It's happened a lot. Packers
there was 2 minutes to go in that game, and I looked over at my father and I said, I just know McCarthy's going to do something here to give us another a better chance to win, and he sure as hell did. That's for sure.
So that's
got to kick that field goal right there. I don't care what. It's overtime. It's 4th down. You're in field goal range. The rule is kick it. I don't care.
I agree with that. Normally I would say go for it, but not in that. You can't. You got to at least give the ball back to Aaron Rodgers and say got to get in the end zone. When you give the ball back to Brady and Rodgers, and they only need a field goal to win the game, you are playing like it's like craps. You're playing against the table, if you ask me. And that brings us to, since we're talking about the NFL, Jimmy Palumbo's NFL stinks list. Now, I know my ratings are going through the roof because everybody wants to hear this stink list. And it's sponsored by cornholelevel.com. That's right. This is the most awesome thing for cornhole players. If you have a cornhole board in your backyard, Chris, and it's all leveled wrong, and it's a mess, and the things are sliding off the back because it's not angled enough, you hook this little thing onto the hole there, and you level it up, down, to, fro, all around. They're $19.95. You get 2 of them. They're stocking stuffers. Load up for Christmas. Get ready for your barbecue, because I know, Chris, you are not the kind of guy. If you ever had a barbecue and you had cornhole in the backyard, a lot of ifs there, I know, you would be embarrassed if I showed up and the boards were not level. Do you agree with me on that?
Of course.
And what would you do? You would put your cornhole leveler on there.
Well, I already have, me, Jimmy, I already have like 7 of these things.
Yeah, but you're
around.
probably giving them away because, they're going like hotcakes. They're $19.95. You get 20% off your entire order by putting in JP Show or Chop Sports. These things are awesome. They're really cool. It really is it's a gag gift. It's a real gift. And it's really fun, especially me. I hate cornhole to bust balls with. So it's awesome. And that brings us to, I guess it's week 10. I have it labeled as 10. The stinks list. I'm going to hold off on. I'm going to start off with the AFC East. I'm going to hold off on one team for my Patreon subscribers. The New York Jets, good. Buffalo Bills, good. The Patriots upgraded to average. Baltimore Ravens, good. Bengals, average. Browns and Steelers stink. Tennessee Titans are now good. Giants beat them. And the Colts have been upgraded here at Shea, and it's a big one, to average. Saturday gets the win. Everybody's busting this guy's balls. He gets the win. I don't care how he got it. Doesn't matter. The Jaguars and Houston Texans stink. Kansas City Chiefs will remain at very good, of course. Now, the rest of the division, Chargers, Broncos, Raiders, they stink. Now, Philadelphia Eagles, I've had it very good for a while, but I watched the game last night, Christopher, and they are downgraded to good. And I started thinking, we got way ahead of ourselves with the Eagles here. Everybody calm down, okay?
Maybe you're getting way ahead of yourself.
No.
By saying that everyone got way ahead of themselves.
Well, listen,
8-1 is
they
8-1.
got beat. They got beat by an average team in a lousy game. If you ask me. Bad football, I think.
Yeah,
People
because
may
that's
disagree.
the first time ever that a really good team lost to an average team within their division on prime time. It's like standard operating procedure in the NFL.
First of all,
Philly is a very good team. There's
listen,
no debate on that.
I thought the Giants are 7-2. I could have made the Giants a VG, a very good, but I didn't. I kept the Giants at good because I think the Giants are a good team. They're not very good, and they're above average. So I gave them a good, and I upgraded the Commanders to average for beating the Eagles. What I love about this, man, it's a tall order for the Giants to win a division. I get it. But I love that they completely control their own destiny, and that hasn't happened since 1985. All you got to do is beat the Eagles twice, beat the Cowboys, and you'll probably win a division. Now, Minnesota Vikings, very good. I still have Packers, Lions, and Bears as stink. I'm not the Packers, though, I'm going to keep an eye on because they still have Aaron Rodgers. That means they still have one bullet in the chamber. And whenever you have Aaron Rodgers and he's healthy, he's got a bullet in the chamber and he could shoot you. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I upgraded to average because they have Tom Brady and they're 5-5 now. Falcons, Panthers, Saints stink. Seahawks are down to good, or they remain at good. 49ers average. Arizona and the Rams stink. And that leaves us with the Miami Dolphins. This is tough, Christopher, because I looked at it, but then I look at the teams they played. Now, they didn't beat a lot of teams by a lot. Some they did. And the quarterbacks got it going on. I have the 7-3 Miami Dolphins. From stink to average to good, they are very good. You just don't want to play the Dolphins right now. I've upgraded them to very good, not for Mike Lawler, because he gave me my Patreon, but I think the Dolphins, I'm going to give them very good. Let's see how long they last.
Yeah, the Dolphins are 7-0 this year in games that their quarterback started and finished.
There you go.
They lost the 2 games he didn't start, and they lost the game that he got knocked out in the second quarter. So
there you go. I totally agree. So I give them the very good. And if the Giants win next week, it'll be interesting. But every game the Giants play, they could lose. So it's 15 stinks, down from 17 last week. Averages is 6, which is down from 8. The goods up from 2 to 8, and very goods 3. So it's 15 stinks, 6 average, 8 goods, and 3 very goods. The world famous Jimmy Palumbo stinks list, sponsored by cornholelevel.com. Now, Chris, we got to be quick here because we're running out of time. TV shows. I know you've been busy. I have one of my favorite shows is The Crown. So it came on and I had to binge it. And I know you're not a fan of The Crown, but that's okay. I loved and hated this season. Number one, there was too many private conversations in the show that couldn't have happened, or you don't know if they happened. So they took a lot more freedom and liberties. But I will tell you, I couldn't keep my eyes off this actress playing Diana. She's way hotter than the real Diana is. And she's like, this girl's hot. The other problem I had was the guy playing Prince Charles is the guy who played the guy in The Affair. And The Affair was about scandal, and the guy has the affair, causes all this turmoil. And then he's playing Prince Charles, who also had an affair. To me, it was like they should have got another actor. As good as he is in it, he's very good in it. He's a great actor, that guy. I couldn't get The Affair out of my head, which, it's like if you hire Gilligan from Gilligan's Island, just sit right back and you hear a tale. I also think it's too current, the show. As much as I love it, and I watched the whole season, I like when you learn about history stuff when I wasn't around or I was too young for. Now, like the Diana stuff, I've read enough about it. I've seen it on CNN and blah, blah, blah. It also is sad to me because, number one, the Queen is gone. And I think that's a big reason why The Crown was a success, because you're watching this and then you're going, this lady is still the Queen. This is nuts. But now with the Diana, the Queen's gone. And so anything she does, like, the old lady's dead. What are you going to? She just died. And also the Diana story, forget about the bullshit with Charles and all this different crap she went through. Like, she died in a car accident, escaping from paparazzi. Like, it's sad. And to me, it affects the show when you see the character. You're like, oh man, what would have happened? It's been 20 years or so. What would have Diana become? Would she had like made a comeback like Camilla did? Would she would have been like, what would have been her world? All the good deeds she was doing. It was very depressing to me knowing that she's dead. That affected the show. The other thing is Yellowstone. That I had to watch. Are you a Yellowstone fan, Chris?
I've been trying to, because I've heard nothing but really good things. But to me, it's just like, I watched the first couple episodes and it was just like, wow, I feel like I've seen this before on other shows. And
Stick with it. Stick with it. The only thing that annoyed me is the Beth and Jamie character. Beth is one of the best characters on TV. Except it's so one-sided. She's
and like,
kicking.
where are all the police officers? Like, how that's the one thing that gets me is it's like, how is it all happening?
There's a little bit of you got to turn a blind eye to some stuff just because it's in
like there would be the FBI, the tabloids would be like, if all that was happening in one place, it would be on. It would be like the most insane thing.
First of all, it's a TV show,
right,
so
thanks.
you got to turn a blind eye to that.
Wait,
I get it though. You make a good point. I also think the Beth character is too one way. She's really owns her brother Jamie, and he's like defenseless. So part of me is like, in order for this to work, he has to punch back and land one. Like, hey Jamie, I hate Beth. You're not so you don't have it all. And also, the show White Lotus on HBO, I can't get enough of this crazy. I don't know why I like this show. The acting is great, but it's the weirdest friggin' show. You have no idea. And it's one of those shows, you watch it and you're like, I have no idea who's going to die. Is anybody going to die? What happened? Where is the episode going? It's nuts to me. So I like the show White Lotus. I can see how people hate it. I think it's one of those shows you're like, the hell's going on here? So I dig that kind of thing. I'm also knee deep in rehearsal, Chris, for the Nutcracker. I mean, ticket sales are brisk because Jimmy Palumbo, the guy from Friends, is bringing back his role of dad of family number 4 into the Nutcracker in downtown Oakland, New Jersey, next Saturday at 6:30 and Sunday at 12:30 and 6:30. And I'm performing with the great Natalie Joan, which is her stage name. And I'm having a blast. It's a lot of work, though, man. 4 or 5 hours doing NFL Sunday. It sucks. You try to watch the game on your phone and shit. And we got a bunch of Giant fans. And in years past, the Giants stunk, so nobody cared about watching the game. Now the Giants are pretty good, so it's annoying. But it's worth it. I love it. Love being with my daughter at the rehearsals. A lot of work for the dads, though. We got to load stuff in, vans, trucks. It's like a lot of work that goes into this stuff. A lot of volunteering. And we got to talk about Pine Tar Bar and Grill, Christopher. 121 South Main Street, Forked River, New Jersey, 609-489-4286. You got to go to this place. My buddy Tommy owns it. It's on 121 South Main Street. Go check it out. Go to pinetarbargrill.com. They got TVs, college football, baseball, football, soccer. There's TVs all over the place. They got karaoke. They got bands. Some really big bands play there. The food is awesome. Go check it out. Highly recommended. And the last thing is I'm shooting a film tonight, Christopher. A film called Checked Out. This little film / series going on. So it's at Booking, and bookings are to be cherished. And the director of this thing I'm doing tonight, I'm not going to tease it, is involved with the possible tease thing we've been teasing. So that's also exciting. I'm putting it all together, Chris. It's all coming together like the football Giants.
Is that when you were asked, was that one of your stipulations? Say, I'll come, I'll do it, but Beer League 2.
I didn't say anything about Beer League 2. Did I, Chris?
No, you didn't.
What?
You didn't.
So I'll be working with him, Tom Baldinger, and which should be really funny. And so it's always good to be back on a set. Thrilled to death. It's a night shoot, so I'll be up till probably 3 a.m. in Somerville, New Jersey. It's a movie called Checked Out. This show went a little long, Chris. I just want to give also a shout out. I know you guys are over at the Mojo app, which is awesome. And your daily show still going on 2 or 3 times a week, which is cool. And also we got some news about a possible streaming thing, which is exciting. We haven't put all that together yet. As a matter of fact, I'll be talking to you right after the show for a couple minutes. And so that's it. The Jimmy Palumbo Show. Thank you, Joe Latrulio. Thank you to his lovely wife, who's on Orange is the New Black. She's one of my favorite characters on that show. And thanks to Chris Gucci and everybody else, my Patreon sponsors. I love you. And to Roger Mayer and Michael Wood and Matt Crouch, who are listening, and Nick Amico getting involved here. And that's about it. Hopefully the Giants will sign Aaron Judge soon so we can move on from that debacle. And I'm wearing my 18-1 Super Bowl hat, which was purchased before we beat them. And that's it. All right. Goodbye, everybody. And I will see you later.